sides to copyright claim, right? So you have the person who owns the copyright, and then if there's an infringement, you have the person who's being accused of using the photo without permission. A lot of times, a defense that is raised on their side is called fair use, and that's basically just kind of, generally speaking, it's where someone can use an image that's owned by someone else, and can use it without having to seek prior permission for the use of that image, so long as they use it for certain purposes. So a court will look at 4 different factors to determine whether or not that fair use actually does apply. One of them is the nature of the use, or the purpose, how the picture is being used. So if it's criticism, newsworthiness, commentary, or the courts will look at that and say, okay, if it's used for that purpose, then they're not really infringing on the copyright owner's rights. They're actually using this in what's called a transformative way. They're bringing they're using the image in a way that brings something new to it. So you're talking about the news, and something about that image itself, commenting on the image itself. You're adding more to this intellectual property, which makes it transformative, and then someone's allowed to use it in that way and not have to pay damages or to a certain thing. But the point of that too is that it's a defense, so people can raise it before, but generally you're sued and you have to bring that up as a defense. But that's what LeBron's attorneys are claiming.
I mean, it's a defense that might not always work, but it's a defense nonetheless. And then
right. Yeah. So
if the photographer has like his or her images licensed with an agency like Getty, for instance, is there still a fair use component? Because I feel like if I went in and used a Getty image on a news story, I would have to pay for that.
So, right. And that brings up, so that kind of goes back to the beginning of, who really owns images. And a lot of times when you do license your images to a photo licensing firm like Getty, that's going to sub-license out these images, sometimes you're giving this company, not necessarily Getty, but whoever you're licensing the images to, who are then sub-licensed, sometimes you're giving them exclusive use. So when you give someone exclusive use to use that image, that they can use it in any way they want, you're kind of putting no restrictions on that. And then also you're not yourself licensing out that image, you're just giving it to them to use. You are also transferring, in a sense, that you're not transferring copyright ownership, but you are, depending on the contract, you're generally likely giving them the right to sue infringers as well. So they themselves could go after someone who has used that image without permission, and they could then, so like, let's say it was lifted off of this, for example, the Getty website or something like that. Getty might have the authority to, it's called standing, to sue, the alleged infringer at that point. So that is one way to go about it. And you want to just know, when you are taking these images and licensing them out, what rights you are giving away to people, and what limitations at that point. It's something, every license you have should have some agreement. If you're licensing to somebody like that, like a news outlet or something, they're going to likely have their own agreements, but you want to make sure that you aren't transferring this over, your copyrights over. And that's something that can be addressed too. Also, is important to have in your wedding photography contracts too, when you're taking these photos, because although copyright attaches to the person who takes the picture, sometimes that doesn't always work out that way. There's also certain situations like a work for hire, which is kind of a carve out of the copyright law, which allows, which even though the person taking the image is, should be the copyright holder, there's certain things where that work automatically transfers over to someone else. So if there's an employee-employer type relationship, copyright transfers to the employer of that point.